Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to CW Live. My name is Chris Webb, Head of Communications. With me for this important broadcast, our General Secretary, Dave Ward, and our Acting Deputy General Secretary, Postal, Andy Fury. Afternoon to both of you.
Yeah, afternoon.
So I'm going to let you get into it straight away. Obviously, the title of the session says everything. The resignation of the Royal Mail CEO, Simon Thompson. Lots of members, welcoming that news. Some saying it's too late. Some wondering why he's still hanging around until October. Loads of questions. Some wondering if it impacts the agreement we've reached with the company. Dave, I'm going to come to you first, if I can, for your initial reaction to this news.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something that we felt and sensed was going to happen for some time. I mean, from the moment that we entered the new talks process under Brendan Barber and ACAS, Simon Thompson hasn't been involved in those negotiations. The board had stepped in and effectively been sidelined. We welcome the news because, Simon Thompson is one of the key people that's responsible for the financial backdrop to the agreement that we've just been reached. And, his mismanagement of the finances of the company, along with others, he's not the only one who's responsible for that, means that this is a very difficult agreement. And hopefully the more that we can talk to our members about the agreement and explain that reality, people will see that the agreement is the best way forward for our members and for the future of the company, and certainly for customers as well. So we welcome the news. He's also responsible, though, for the relentless attacks that have taken place in the workplace on our members. And that's through that mantra that we keep talking about, our business to run. But once again, he's not the only one. And what we want to see now is that the leadership team of Royal Mail needs to be freshened up completely. Because there are still managers, we believe. And this is why I think the deal at the moment, as we're going around talking, the biggest thing that comes up is that people in delivery in particular, it's utter chaos out there. And whilst the agreement is the route to resolving that, if the managers themselves at the top are still sending out messages to people at local level, their managers, to carry on regardless, well, we can't accept that. That's not the agreement we've reached. And we hope that as a result of this now, that you will also see, other changes in the leadership of the company. But more importantly, that if they're going to stay, they've got to abandon the approach that they've been taking so far. So we know that it's chaos in delivery offices. We know that quality of service is failing. The agreement, I keep stressing this, is the route to resolving that problem, because the words in the agreement make that clear. But we've now got to see management everywhere honouring that. So we hope this is the first step to dealing with that problem. The agreement is the agreement as it stands at the moment. I said Simon Thompson's not been involved in the negotiations, but I think it's an important development. And hopefully we now start to see a different attitude from management that our members feel locally, and that we can deal with some of these problems on quality of service and USO failures that are directly attributable to the actions of the company in the last year.
Thank you, Dave. Andy, I'll come to you. I mean, there's a number of questions people are coming up with. The first, obviously, people are, I think, are welcoming generally the news of the removal of Simon Thompson as CEO, but in his statement, which was, I think, carefully crafted, it says something along the lines of, he's stepping down now as the CEO, but he's still around until the 31st of October. And some our members are panicking and thinking, he's still going to have his hands on, industrial relations and the agreement and everything that goes on in the workplace until the 31st of October. So maybe an opportunity to reassure members there, Andy.
Well, I mean, whatever date they put on that statement, his window dressing, it's a bit of face saving maybe for him, probably an ability for him to remain on the payroll to that date. But in terms of his influence and his ability to make change, I mean, that's gone. It was gone some months back. As Dave explained, the moment he was removed from those negotiations, the two non-executive directors, board members, led those talks with Sir Brendan Barber. That was when he was essentially dead man walking. I mean, not necessarily a nice phrase, but he wasn't in charge of running the company. But unfortunately, he's left a legacy. And that legacy is the way our members are treated in the workplace. And it's that lack of respect and dignity applied to them. And with management that are, they are off the leash in terms of the way that they are bullying and harassing our members. I think the most sobering thing that we've found from the briefings we've done this week in York and Birmingham is the harrowing stories about the way our members are being treated by local managers day in, day out. And that's got to stop. So what we need to ensure is whoever they appoint to replace that Simon Thompson, and their comms indicates that they're at the advanced stages of that appointment, then whoever they appoint needs to come in and there needs to be a fresh ethos that Royal Mail will only be successful if people in the workplace are treated with dignity and respect and are valued. Our members deliver a magnificent job day in, day out, and they need to be valued and they need to be respected. And the new CEO, whoever that person is, he or she, is going to have to immediately get about putting in a proper culture. And of course, the agreement will support that, because the agreement is definitely the vehicle to proper change, with the union at the centre and the heart of being involved day in, day out. Our voice in the workplace will be heard again, and will be heard in a way that our people will actually have an influence on change.
Thank you, Andy. I mean, Dave, whilst welcoming, I think that is the overriding feeling from the members we've seen so far. There are some members who are saying, the damage is done. He's done his job. He's smashed, the workplaces to pieces. The revisions are a total shambles. The offices are down and they're struggling. Morale's down and they're struggling. Simon Thompson going will have absolutely no material impact whatsoever. What would you say to those members who are a sizable block?
Look, I have to say that our job is to rebuild the workplaces in a way that, as Andy said, people are treated fairly, and everybody feels that they're part of what we can do in the company going forward, with the union directly involved. So we don't accept that. If we accept that, then there's no point in having a Royal Mail. And our job is to change what's that feeling is, and we've made that very, very clear. We keep saying this. If people look at the agreement, one of the first things in the agreement is that the company have agreed to review the revisions and to put right the quality of service failures. Now, there's chaos out there. We get that completely. But you don't throw away an agreement and throw in the towel by that attitude. I don't accept that at all. I don't think anybody in the union would accept that. And some of our members, I understand how frustrated they are. But our job is to change that now, that culture, that attitude. And the first step in doing that is to try and review the revisions. Now, as part of that, the legacy that he's left is one that is not about taking the workforce with you. The workforce feel alienated by the way and the amount of attacks that have taken place. Well, that's got to go with him. But the point we're making is that there's probably others in the company who have bought into that leadership mantra, and they've got to be challenged now. And that's why, we've put the ballot back a week, because we want to get those things moving now, so that you see that change literally at a local level before we start the ballot process. And we're on to Royal Mail about that. We'll be meeting them next week. And, people shouldn't give up hope on turning around that attitude. The company and our members' jobs, are too important. The two are intrinsically linked, and we've got to create the change. We've got to make the workplace a better environment. And we can do that if we stay together. It's as simple as that. On this point about, he's hanging around until the end of October. Look, the guy's position was untenable. The moment that he went in front of the select committee and never told the truth, he was pretty much finished. And I think it's just been a matter of time before that. But he's there to October, probably because they don't want to say publicly that they're giving him any money, because that's part of how he's positioned it. He's staying, he's resigned rather than be pushed. And I think the truth is everybody will know that he probably didn't have a lot of choice. And how they've positioned that now is that he's going to stay there till October. So I suppose that's the money that he gets after he's left, rather than them being forced to say publicly, which would be another PR disaster for Royal Mail, that they're paying someone off who's actually created a crisis in the company. We ain't created that crisis. The agreement ain't created that crisis. So, let's think about this in a way that we see this as positive news. But the point we're putting forward is our genuine view is there's others who have invested in that culture, invested in that belief that they can run this business without taking the workforce with them. And unless they change, unless you see that change, they have to go as well. And let's hope that in refreshing the team at the top, that it doesn't just relate to Simon Thompson.
Thanks, Dave. Brilliant. Andy, maybe a final word from you ahead of on this news, and also ahead of next week's next round of local reps meetings.
Well, yeah, look, there's another key moment that's going to occur next week, and that's the annual report and accounts, where Royal Mail published their financial results for the last financial year. So, but the timing of this announcement today is not a coincidence. They are going to be declaring a massive loss for Royal Mail Group next week, and that's the legacy that Simon Thompson has left, and his team. Not just him, it's his team as well. They've turned a profitable making company in Royal Mail Group, significant profits this time last year, into a loss-making company, something like an £800 million turnaround, and they've lost the dressing room, lost the workforce with the way it's been treated. Now, we've got to get round the table. We're going to do that. I think we're meeting the COO McPherson next Tuesday, and we're going to, the top on the agenda is putting right those revisions, getting the culture back, making sure that people are treated properly and fairly and reasonably. And the deal ensures that we're heavily involved in going forward in all ways through joint working groups. So we're looking forward to the briefings. Got 3 briefings next week. We start off Monday at the TEC for London and the South East and Anglia. Then we're up to Glasgow on Tuesday for Scotland, and then we're across the water in Belfast on Wednesday. So we're looking forward to meeting with our unit representatives, carrying on the debate. We've had a good couple of debates in York and Birmingham this week, and we go again next week. And it's all part of our democracy and being accountable and making sure that we have debates. That's what the union does well. So we're looking forward to that.
Thank you, Andy. Brilliant. Dave, just before you come in, someone just made a good point on the Royal Mail CEO. They've said, give it to Neil Warnock to the end of the season. Dave, your closing comments, Dave.
Well, look, this is positive news for us, and the efforts of our members in terms of supporting the union, supporting each other. We got to continue that spirit, and because we can turn the company around. He's created the financial crisis that the company's in, because he spent millions and millions of pounds not on settling the dispute, but on trying to break the spirit of our members and destroying the union. And crucially for them, the key objective was to remove local reps from the workplace. And they haven't achieved that. And I think it was inevitable that he was going to have to go. So, it's right that he's paid the price for what he's done. We've got to pick up that now. And, if the managers in this company don't want to help save Royal Mail and build jobs in the future, we've got to do that. That's our responsibility, and we can do that. So, let's see what develops. Let's see what comes from the further meetings. I think what's absolutely vital now is that the company go out and change that culture. And what that means is culture is a fluffy word in many ways, but it means you've got to actively see in the workplace that people are going to do something about the chaos that they've created during the course of this dispute with these imposed revisions. The agreement is the right route to try and tackle that, but it can only be achieved if Royal Mail management want to play that game. So let's hope this is the start of a change in the attitudes of management, and let's make sure that we see a positive change at local level, and we'll be doing everything we can to make sure that happens.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Andy. And thank you to everyone who has stuck with the union through this bitter dispute, and keep sharing your views. We're loads of live Q&As coming up. We've got local reps briefings all of next week, and hopefully some more detail on the agreement and more chances for you to engage in the process. Take it easy.